Okay, good day everyone. Today, in other words, we're going to attempt to show you how to make a star plasma generator. I'll take you through the various steps, show you all the bits and pieces, and hopefully by the end of that there you'll have a very clear understanding of actually how to go about it. I'm also going to have Shay, who's here with me, and while I'm doing this he's going to be doing one as well, so a person will be able to see that the time it actually also takes to actually build one of these units. To start with, what you're going to need to do, you'll see here I've unraveled it already, but you would be required to buy a 16mm bare earth copper wire. It's like this, and it has 7 strands together, and those strands are 1.67mm in diameter. And what you need to make your unit is you need to have 3 of those strands, and the length is 1.1 meters or 1100 millimeters. So you'll see yes, 3 of those strands that have already been unraveled. We will use that to make little units that look like this. And this is going to be principally your magnetic little coil and your gravitational coil, and you're going to be making 3 of those. What you will also be doing is you'll also be required to buy some bare earth copper wire, which is the 10mm in diameter, and there you'll need a length that is 700 millimeters long. And of that, there are 7 strands in there, and you will be using all 7 strands to make this actual unit. Other parts that you'll be required to make this unit are ping pong balls. And you can kind of see here, there's 3 ping pong balls that you sort of hot glue together, and then you drill holes through. And what I do is if I put it on the surface and I do that, it actually marks them at the bottom, and then you can see I've already drilled the holes through. It marks them so that you can see where the center is to drill the holes right through. And if you use a pedestal drill, you can drill it perpendicular right through. Because it's nice to actually, when you put the coil in, that it's nice and perpendicular. And then you'll also have the top coil, the top ping pong ball that will fit on there like that. But that won't be hot glued in yet, as yet. So what you can actually see now is that's what the kind of product would look like, and that's how the balls would go together. And then these little coils will actually be fitted inside. They actually go, let's get it through here. I can't get it through there. I will take that piece out. But anyway, you take it once you've made it up and they've all been nano coated. You will then put the whole thing together, and I'll show you how I actually thread through those coils into each of these little ping pong balls, and how you put it together, because then your end product will look like this. I don't know if you want to zoom in on that. So what you're going to be doing is you're going to be making, just to recap, you're going to be making up 3 of these, and then you're going to be making up 4 of these. 3 of them will be anti-clockwise, and the top one that goes in the top is clockwise. So we'll be doing those. So what I'm going to be doing now is I'm going to be showing you how I actually go through that process of actually doing that. Okay. What I would do is you take your drill, and the mandrel that I've got inside here is a 10mm mandrel. I've got one out of wood. It's actually better if you can find a metal one, because the wood sometimes wears with time, but this one's actually worn quite well. And then what I do is I take one of the pieces of wire that is 1.1 meters long, and I attach it to the chuck. like that, just so that it can actually fit together and that it holds it. And then I put it into the chuck. And tie it up. What's important is you must look at your drill and make sure that it's turning as if it's in reverse. So if you were taking a screw or something like that, it would be taking the screw out. If you have a look at this little button there, you'll see when you push that in, you'll see it's pointing in the reverse direction. The drills that you use might have different things, but what you're basically looking is that it's going to be turning in reverse. What I then do, you see, I've got this little stand made up, and I've put a little piece of wood that I've actually bolted on there. You can clamp it on or whatever. And with my drill, you can see I've aligned, when I put the drill right down, it aligns nicely so that it can fit through that hole. That's just to support the stick while you're actually making the little coil. And what we're going to do is I will use this one as a measurement of the length of the coil. In fact, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually mark on here what that length is. Okay. How you go about making the actual little coils that look like this, and you're going to be making up 3 of these. Okay. In some of the units that were made by other people, they actually made them separately, and then they actually joined them in the center over here. But I just felt that it's so much nicer to make it all in one. So I'm going to show you how I actually go about doing that. I've got a mandrel. This one's wooden. It could also be steel, and you can buy this at any hardware store. What I've done for my particular drill, you can see I've actually made a little bit of a groove over there, so that the wire can actually fit in there when I actually put it into the chuck. So what I'm going to do now, and then with your drill, you must make sure, people always get confused between clockwise and anti-clockwise and things like that. The simplest way to do that is just put your drill into reverse. And if it's in reverse, you will then be making up coils that are anti-clockwise. So what I'm doing now is I'm putting those two together like that. And then I'm actually putting that into the chuck. Open the chuck up, put it into the chuck, and then I tighten that up. Nice and tight, and I bend it over. Can you see that? Bend it over like that, so we can start making the coil. And then what you're going to be needing to do is you're going to need to make up 18 turns. You're going to be needing to, each of these have got 18 turns on each of the coils. Now, I know some people are very pedantic about being exactly 18, and if that's what your belief is, then that's what you must do. But I'm quite happy to say more or less one this way or that way doesn't really make a difference. But that's up to you. If you feel that very strongly to be 18, then go ahead and do that. Okay, so now what I'm going to do now is, you'll see I've got this hole drilled through with this piece of wood that has been clamped on there, and what I did is, when I put my drill and I laid it down like that there, I made sure it was in a nice line there, so it just supports everything nicely. Working with the copper and on your hands, it's good to actually have gloves. So what I do now is I put a glove on, otherwise it becomes a bit rough on your hands. And then I hold this and I pull it down, and then just check to see the length, a little bit longer, and there we have it. And I just pull this straight just to get that wire that has been unravel that just like that. Okay, now if you're a little bit out in the with the number of coils and things like that, it's not that important because you will be able to fix that afterwards. So you've done the first part like this, and what I'm going to do is, because I've got this mandrel in, I'll do all three of them like that. So I'll just take this out, loosen it off, take it out like that, and I'm going to do the next one. It's much easier when you're doing all the 10mm part first, and then you do the other part afterwards. You got it, getting it. Okay. Again, I just pull that just to straighten the wire a bit. And by this time, what I've actually done is, when I know I've got the right number, I then actually make a mark on the mandrel itself, so I know exactly where I'm going to. This is not. Right, and then it might look easy, but it's a little bit of a skill that you will pick up, and if you make it straight, you can always unwind and rewind until you actually get it right. Whoops, you can see there I've gone wrong, it's wound up on itself. So I'm unwinding it. It's good that happened, so you can see that. And then there you got it. And then you just unwind that. When you unravel the wire, you'll see it's a little bit kinky, so you just need to just straighten that a little bit. Okay, now that you've made those three of these, we're now going to do the other end of this, do the little gravitational coil. And what I've done now is, you'll see I've replaced that 10mm mandrel now with a 5mm mandrel, because that's what I'm going to be using to make the small ones. And all I do is, you'll see I specifically made the piece of cut the piece of wire 1100mm, because I measured it out to get it right, so that the end result is that the whole thing puts together nicely. So now what I'm going to do is, I'm going to take the other end and I'm going to put it into the chuck, bend it over, and again, same way as I did with the other, I'm just going to keep turning this, and then again you're going to have to draw, put on 18 turns. So if you go one over or one less or too many, or it doesn't really matter, because you can fix it up afterwards. Whoops. And I just sort of give it a bit of a bump like that there, just to put them all nice and tight together. And then I take the thing off. Okay. So that's basically what you've got. We can check that they're actually right. And what you can do is, if you want to be very precise, you can actually count the number of turns there. If you've got too many, you unwind some of them. I haven't worried too much about that. I normally just go like that there. What we can see there is, it looks like there's about 2 turns too many on that. So what I do is, I take a mandrel, I've got another one here, and I just unwind it a bit, like that, to be exact. So I've got that there. And now what's important is we need to get the spacing between the two to be right so that they all fit nicely together. Once they put together, they fit nicely over the ping pong balls. And what I've done is I've made a little piece of wire, and that's the right size so that I can actually get that measurement. So what I do now is I take that piece of wire and I put it in, and you can sort of see it's quite far from there. And what I'll do now is I'll take this one, and it was the 10mm mandrel, and I'll put it back in, and I'll just wind that up until I get it to the right size. And I think that's about it. Let's just check. Just a little bit more. So that's how you can play around with these coils until you get them perfectly aligned and to size. And then once you've got that part sorted out, you can then work on the opposite side to actually get the right number of turns, and then any excess like that, you can get it off on that side. But you'll find that it's pretty close. Okay, so if I take them from my measurements, that one looks pretty close. If I look at the other one's measurements, that's pretty close. I'm happy with those. If you want to be very specific and precise, you can unwind or whatever to get exactly 18 turns on each of those. So you're now going to get to the stage where you've made 3 of those. And what happens now is we're going to now, the next step we're going to do is we're going to take those, and if I've got one that's open, just pass me that one there. Once you've done those, we're now going to use some of the 1,3 16 gauge wire, the 1,3 wire, the thinner one, and we're going to wind it around so that it looks like that. And it's much easier to do that when your piece is still in this stage, because your end result is they're going to look like this. When you put the whole thing all together, it'll look like that. Okay, so now what I'm going to show, so what I've done is, again, I told you that you're going to need 7 pieces of the 1,3 wire, which is this one here, and I'm now going to show you how I go about actually winding it and putting it around like that. And what I found, and there was the hard way, is it's easier to do it when it's in this format than if it's all put together already. Right, I'll put that away. I'm going to show you how I do one, and then obviously what you will do, you will realize that you have to do 3 of those. So you can use gloves if you want to, but I find when you're working at that, so it's quite a little bit more finicky, so it's not so easy to wind it with gloves on. Okay, you've got your wire. If you want to, you can always just kind of do that to smoothen it out. Makes it easier. And then what I do, I found I halve it. Okay, so what I'm going to show you now is how to make and wind those little connectors to your sort of gravitational and magnetic coils. And it's best to do it at this stage before you put the thing together. So, as I say, what I did is I used a piece of that 1,3 diameter copper wire, which is 700 millimeters long. And what I've done is, you'll see I've actually folded it in half. And the reason why I do that is just easier for me to work from the center. So what I do is I put that in the center, and I then start closing it up, and I start winding again in an anti-clockwise manner. So, can you see that? I'm going to be winding it. This is quite tough. Get started, and then so on this side it's going anti-clockwise. This side it obviously looks like it's going clockwise, but we're always building it that way. So now I start just winding this around like that. I'm trying to get it nice and as close and nice and tight together. If you find that it's a bit open, you can always take a pair of pliers and sort of squeeze it together like that. Okay, so I do that and I take it right to the point where it gets to about there. Okay, and then I carry on with the other side. Make sure it's all nice and tight. I'm going to take it like that and then do the same thing. I keep going like that. Until I basically filled up that area. I suppose in this whole process too, if you again want to be more precise and things like that there, you could probably end up having that being a combination of 9. But I'm not too concerned about that. It's just that it looks, you could have just had a couple of little turns on either side like that there, like I did on this unit. You can see this unit here, I didn't wind it all the way around, it was just a short piece. But it just looks nicer and tidier by winding it right through and covering it completely. Once you've done that, now you've got to make up some coils and connectors on the top here. And what the purpose of these are is because this is the part where you actually connect them together. And what I found an easy way to do that is I use a pop rivet that's the same diameter as the 1.3 millimeter wire. And what I do is, you could use anything. It's just that you could use any piece of something that's strong. If you just use the copper wire, it bends too much. The steel is just a lot more sturdy. And what I do is I then just put it over here, and then I start winding. And what I do now is I just wind it up until, for that whole length, you could, if you wanted to be as precise again, you could make it 9 turns or 18 turns or whatever. I just take this actual pop rivet that I'm using as a mandrel, and I'll wind it to the end. Right, now I've got it to the end there like that. You can see now it's easy just to take that out, and then I just put it in from the other side. You can play around and make it nice and neat and things like that. And what I found is if I take the length there and I take it like that and cut it off, what is that length? I don't know. But I do that, and I need to get that other little pliers. And then I take a long nose pliers and I just bend this part over like that there. Because as we all know, if we've been working with the cash stuff like that there, you need to, your ends need to be turned back on themselves so that you don't lose the plasma energy like that. And that's it. Now I'm going to do the same on the other side. And again, remember, you must be winding anti-clockwise. A little bit apart there, so I just squeeze it tighter, so it's all nice and neat. Oops. And as I said, what I do is I wind it just to the end of the mandrel. Take it out, stick it in the other side. Cut it off. What's nice about these little ears as well is when you connect the thing together and you put your pieces of wire that go into that there from your coils, you can actually use that to tighten it up. Tighten up the connection. Okay, so that's what it looks like. And you end up making 3 of those. Okay. Okay, so now that we've made them all up, and you can see I've got all 3 here, and I've tidied them up nice and neatly. I've got those connection parts to get all sorted out. We're now going to put the thing together. And so what we do is we take the small coil and we put it into the big coil. So the gravitational coil is going into the magnetic coil. And then we take the next one and we do the same. And then we take the last one. It's a little bit tricky, you've got to bend it around, but you can manipulate it, you can get it in. Okay, and there you've got it. It looks like that there. Now all we need to do now is we're going to do the bottom end, and that's where we're just going to close those, and what will happen is it will look like that when it's finished. And then you've basically got your unit complete, and then we're going to now concentrate on looking at the ping pong balls and the coils that go into the ping pong balls. Okay, so now I'm going to finish off the bottom end where I connect together the magnetic and the gravitational coils. And the way that you do that is you take the outside coil, which is the magnetic coil, and you twist it around the gravitational one, like that. And then I just cut it off, like that, and make sure that it's down there like that there. And then you take the gravitational one that's inside and just and you then turn the gravitational one around the magnetic one. Yeah. And I'm going to bend that around like that. It's a little bit long, so I'm going to cut it off. And then I need to bend that around so it goes. And then it's just a matter of tidying it up nice and neatly. And what you do is you do exactly the same as that on all three of them. So from that there, that's what the end result will look like. Okay. Okay, now that you have completed this part here, what you need to do is to get your 3 ping pong balls, and what you do is you glue them together. And I used hot glue to put them together. You could possibly even use some of that silicone glue as well. The important thing is it just stabilizes them to be together like that there. And then what I do is I just rub it like that, and then you'll see where I've already now drilled the holes. It actually makes a little dark spot like that, so that you know the center, the perpendicular center of your ping pong ball. Because what's important is you then want to drill a hole right through. That's vertical. And the size of the drill that I use there is the same diameter as the wire. So that was 1.3 millimeters in diameter. So you want to make a hole that's around about that size, so that you can get your coil to go through there. Now what I'm going to show you is I'm going to now wind the coils that are going to go inside the ping pong balls. And you'll see that I'll be doing 3 that'll fit through these at the bottom, and then the top ping pong ball that goes on top will have one that is clockwise. So anti-clockwise for the 3 bottom ones and clockwise for the top one. And I'm using the 1.3 millimeter wire, diameter wire, and that's the kind of coil that we're going to make. So I'll just show you how I make that quickly, and then you make 3 of those, and then you make the one that's clockwise. But I'm just going to demonstrate how to make one of those coils. And again, the number of turns there is 18 turns. You can cut there now. Okay, now I'm going to demonstrate to you how to make the coils that fit inside the little ping pong balls. And again, we use the same wire as we used for those connectors, which is the 1.3 millimeter wire. And as I said, you ended up you got yourself 7 of those, and here you're going to use 4 of them. So they're 700 millimeter pieces of wire, 1.3 millimeters, and you're now going to make those coils. Remember, 3 of the coils will be anti-clockwise, and the one that fits in the ping pong ball that's at the top is clockwise. And I'll just show you how I do that. It's very simple, straightforward. Again, put it in, and then I just, whoops. Right.
Do you want to start that again, Ben? Because your hand's in the way.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I am maybe.
Huh?
Well, yeah, okay. No, that's fine. That's better, yeah.
Do you want your gloves?
Yeah, there's better ways of doing it than what I have. And if you see that one guy who did it for for his mini magrav, he put up another little thing like that, and he had the thing standing up horizontal like that. But he had, because I'm using a specific piece of wire, length of wire, it's more difficult. But because he had long wire like that, he actually threaded it through and it created nice tension, and then he pushed it up right against there, so
Yeah.
that kept it nice together and tight. It's important people must become creative and innovative. Now I've got the wrong glove. No.
You're going to have to cut a lot of this because it's recording still.
Is that recording?
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Now, if you notice there, I've got a bit of a gap, and the easiest way to get rid of the gap is just to do that, and it fixes it. And that's it. Okay, so now that I've run it, I've taken it off the mandrel. To finish it off, I just kind of bend that part up straight, and at the bottom I cut it off kind of that kind of length. And the only reason to do that is so I can bend it around, because you always want to make sure that the energy goes back in. So that's what it looks like as per these. And you'll see that this thing is a little bit longer than the one that I've got there, but you've got that little bit extra, and once you've put the thing together, you can cut it to size. Okay, and what I do now is the last bit before is I take and I just stretch it a bit, just like that. And the reason I do that is it makes it easier to actually thread through. And what I would do then at this point is it's now ready for nano coating. So all these little coils will now go into the bin to get nano coated. And only after they're nano coated, they will then be threaded through the ping pong ball. But what I'm going to do now is to demonstrate, I'm going to thread it through one of the ping pong balls so you can see how it actually goes. So you take your ping pong balls and you put it in from the bottom, push it through like that, and then it's a matter of, you can see there, and it's just a matter of just screwing it in. And but as I say, you'll only be doing this once it's been nano coated, and you screw it in. Until you get to about there. Remembering that this will already be nano coated. You do the same for all three of those, and then what I do is I put a big blob of hot glue on the bottom here just to seal it. So that it looks like, there you can see the end result. Thank you. Okay. Okay. What you can see now is I've put all four of the coils in. The bottom three, which is the anti-clockwise coils, and the top one in the top ball is a clockwise coil. And what happens then is the coil from each coil in a clockwise direction. This coil here, that's inside this ball, goes around and goes into the next side, and you do the same thing all the way around. So each one does the same. It goes over the ball, and it connects on the magnetic side of the next coil, and then each one does that.
symmetrically. And once you've done that there, the last part that we're going to connect is we're now going to connect from this central coil. We're going to connect, as I'm going to show you now, we're going to connect through to the other connections. So from there, it's going in there. Let me just show you. It's going in there and there. And then the other one. So then from the central coil, it's connecting to each one of those there. This one comes through over there like that. And then this here would be the point that goes out to your load. And this central coil at the bottom is a connection where it comes from the mains. Kind of like that. And then our plan is that at the bottom of this unit, where we've got these three magravs, we're going to connect the three of them together, and that point we're going to put on into Earth. So I think that kind of completes the unit. If there's any other questions or queries, we can always contact us and we can try and work on it. But just bear in mind very clearly, this is a working model. It's a work in progress, and we will continue until we actually get to the stage where we actually use these units and put them into our spaceships and fly away. Okay.